There's this huge thing, even with like the beauty industry, plastic surgeries, wanting to look like other people and embrace these traits that have nothing to do with your bloodline, nothing to do with your culture, nothing to do with the cells that course through your veins. This whole system is inviting you to embrace everything about who it is that you are and not want to be anyone else, to be fully in love with your story, because you get to grow as a result of experiencing the things that only you have in your unique way.
Everything else is just like trying to fix a broken tire with like the wrong tool. What do I gotta do to make it better? Or how do I fix this so that I can make it? It's like, well, you're not using the right tool. The right tool is always gonna be your truth. It's always gonna be, what am I actually? Who am I inside of my own energy systems? External, not included.
And it only takes so many times of intaking that before we decide to turn that switch off inside of us. There's a switchboard that I witness as all of us having thousands and thousands of switches, and so many of them are turned off.
My guest today is Britt Lynn LaBouff, founder of Energetic Cartography and the creator of InnerSelf Mapping. She teaches that spirituality without embodiment is just escapism, and that awareness means nothing if you don't actually become it. Her work shows people how to map the landscape of their inner self so they stop repeating childhood patterns, dissolve identity distortions, and finally live in integrity with who they really are. But here's the tension. In an age where everyone says they're doing the work, are they actually doing it? Or are they spiritually avoiding the very places that would set them free? Britt Lynn believes no system can save you, not human design, not astrology, not chakras, only radical inner honesty. I believe that knowing yourself is impossible without identifying interference, the energies, patterns, and distortions that shape you without your consent. So today, we ask the real question. Are you doing the work or avoiding the one thing that would finally change you? Let's get into it. What a fucking bio. Britt Lynn, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
You guys have to know that I am now the lucky keeper of sourdough bread. Britt Lynn came from Vegas and had a wild, beautiful, amazing thought to bring myself and my husband and obviously my dog, because they get the crumbs, right? Like they obviously get a piece of the toast. Brought sourdough bread all the way from Vegas, which just to me feels like such a testimony of your heart and your spirit and your thoughtfulness.
Oh, thank you so much. For me, there's no greater gift than bread. It's such a humble thing. It's such a wholesome way to make an introduction, to give a little gift, to give a piece of nourishment. So I have a micro bakery in New Mexico, and I thought, why not? Why wouldn't I travel with my little loaf of bread? It traveled on my lap.
I love it.
Came a long way, so I hope you enjoy it.
Oh, I will definitely enjoy it. And that just is such a beautiful way to segue and start our work together with just authenticity, thoughtfulness, and creativity, which is something that actually we had spoken about while you and I were connecting just before this episode. We were talking about how important authenticity is and living in one's truth is in these times. And so, to begin, I would love a little bit of an introduction into what it means to you, through you, to live in your most authentic self right now. Let me be a fly on the wall of what led you to who you are today.
Well, the reason that I care so much about truth is because on a spectrum of embodying truth to its nth degree and how it wants to express through me, to being absolutely lost, literally feeling like I don't know who I am, I was there. I was all the way at that pit. And I lived that way for the first 25 years of my life. And I have a Gemini stellium in the Western astrology system, I grew up in 18 different homes. I went to a new school every single year, and I developed socially in a very different way than other children did. And what I mean by that is that when I approached a new school, I knew my mom has sun in the 4th house in Sagittarius. She loves to move. That's why I lived in so many houses.
Wow.
And I knew that when I approached a new school, I entered from a space that said, I'm not going to be here for very long anyway. So you show me who you are, and I'll be that. I'll be that to a T. I'll be exactly who you are. And my sister and my mom even used to make fun of me. And like, I remember one day them picking me up from school and turning around and being like, oh gosh, who's Brittany friends with this week? Because I would have a new laugh every week because I was hanging out with different kids.
Wow.
And I would just adopt who they are in different ways. I would adopt their style. I would adopt their laughter. And in the one way, developing this over so many years led me to a lot of success. I've had a 20+ year career internationally modeling, seen a lot of things, worked for a lot of really dope brands, businesses. And in that way, it's been very successful. But at 25, when I realized I had a spontaneous spiritual awakening on August 2nd, 2015, I will never forget that day. I realized for the very first time in my life that I actually had no idea who I was. Didn't know what my unique persona held. I didn't even know that unique persona was a thing. And ever since that day, a switch turned on inside of me, and I have been tirelessly devoted, so passionate to studying who it is that I am, what it is that I'm embodying, how it feels in my body, whether I'd rather live a different way. And really all this work stemmed from me not knowing who I was and gaining awareness that, you know, that I had imprints that were marked upon me based on my lived experiences. And I began being addicted, healthfully addicted, obsessed with studying my wounds and really bringing change to them, bringing actionable change to them. And now I stand as an entirely different woman. Feels incredible.
Wow, I love so many angles of this. I think the first thing that's really standing out to me is the similarity in finding ourselves through other people and finding who and how we relate with other people and chameleoning ourselves to belong or to fit in. You know, when I had my awakening, very similarly, I realized that I was hiding in characters my entire life. I was playing these strong women, very, very strong women through musical theater, musicals and shows. But then my life was utter chaos. My human experience, I felt like I was living in shambles. And I would find a lot of catharsis through the women I was playing. But then when I had my awakening, similar to you, I had this realization of like, I don't actually know who the fuck I am when I'm not faking it until I make it. Totally. What if I be it until I see it? What would that be like? I'm like, I don't even know what being me looks like. I'll never forget the day I was trying to reflect on like what made me happy. And I literally couldn't tell you. You know, it was like, I don't even know where to begin with that answer, which is humiliating in so many respects because I reflect to other people in so many ways, like be you, be who you want to be in the world, go for your dream, go for it. But if you asked me what the fuck makes me happy, I'd have no idea. None. And similar to you, there's been a deep path of unlearning where maybe I've lost myself in other people or other things to belong for me. Belonging was a big thing, or to not be abandoned. Like I wouldn't be left if I put on a certain persona, or to heal through other characters who had strong endings and exciting beginnings. And I didn't have that in my childhood. And so I really resonate with what you're sharing. And now I've got a question. So based on everything that you've unlearned, who are you?
I'm the me that feels the most alive, that feels the most true. I'm unafraid to do things that I never would have dreamt of having the courage to do or express or communicate. Or it's like immediately my mind goes to my husband's an incredible music producer. And when he has gigs, when he has shows, I oftentimes will start the dance floor. And that, like, there's so much to be said inside of that, because I've become the woman that goes first. And I'm unafraid of doing that now. And it's, for a long time, reclaiming my dance was a huge part of my story and a huge part of my personal reclamation after being bullied so severely from 7th grade up till my mid-20s over the way that I danced, and how I allowed myself to be shamed into submission with that. And reclaiming my dance, for so many years, I would do it with my eyes closed because that was my safety. I wanted to feel into my dance, but I didn't want to see anyone looking at me while I was doing it. And that was such a healing piece for me, just to be in my own energy and to not be seeking attention for it, to not even want to really be witnessed in it. But now, it's like that was a huge part of my process, to let myself be in the privacy of that. But sometimes it was in a public setting. And for a lot of people, I think that it is really important for them to put the blinders on while they're developing themselves again. Because as you practice being yourself, eventually you'll get to a point where it's okay to be seen in it. It's okay to feel comfortable with other eyes on you as you witness. And that's when you become a permission slip for other people to begin that process of liberation within themselves.
I think about the act of meditation when I hear you speak, how really we start the practice with our eyes closed to start to tune into the inner world. But you and I both know this is the practice for this, right? This tunes into a 1% of our day. And our work now is to bring that meditative posture into every day, right? Into the rest of life, when you're triggered, when your husband pisses you off, when there are challenges, delays, right? When you feel life is not giving you what you want in the flow of how you want it, that's when we apply this into life. I wonder, for a lot of people who've been on their awakening journeys right now, who've been in the process of trying to understand who they are, probably I would say maybe the most infamous question that we ask ourselves in spirituality is, who am I? Why am I here? What has been your way of reverse engineering something that you didn't know to what you now know in yourself?
Well, I will say that self-knowledge systems have played a huge role in that, and that's so much of what we're here talking about today. For me to witness, specifically, I got started in the Western astrology system to start witnessing and Googling, like, what is North Node in the 8th house? What is North Node at 0 degrees between Pisces and Aquarius, which is where mine lies? And then starting to ask myself, not just taking that as like a label or an identity that I began wearing and saying like, I'm this because Google said this, but asking myself, turning the mirror on myself and saying like, where does that energy show up in my life? What does that actually look like? And self-inquiring as to what my truth is in that realm. So, coming into my moon being in the 5th house of Leo, there is an aspect of me that just wants to reveal my inner world, that just loves being an open book and being really vulnerable, like vulnerable to a point that like a lot of people are like, I can't believe she's going there. Like, why is she telling me this? But for me, that's how I really deeply started getting into the mirror work of like, who am I? And what does this aspect, like, how does this aspect that I'm seeing here on this map correlate to me? Do I resonate with it? And sometimes, like for many years, I didn't resonate with being a Taurus Gemini cusp at 0 degrees because I only identified as the communicator, the storyteller, the one that had too much to say all the time. And that was an imbalance of my Gemini expression where my Taurian self had not even come online yet. So I was like, Taurus, like astrology is a total joke. They say I'm 2 signs, like stupid. But really I didn't resonate with Taurian energy because I was so deeply anxious and embodied in all the imbalanced aspects of Gemini. And I just didn't know what grounding was. I literally remember the day I first learned about the chakra system and I was guided into my own ground for the first time in my life at a music festival. It's moments like that you become aware of an aspect of yourself that you never even knew existed. And then you can begin honing that and strengthening in that and deepening in that. And that's where so much of this like tie to having a relationship with different self-knowledge systems is so profound. That's the depth of it. You know, that's the magic. It's not just here as some like new age spirituality thing. And even the name of new age, like I could go into a whole thing about that because I think it's so misinterpreted. But yeah, that's how you really bridge the gap and make it mean something to you. It's got to have meaning.
So what I'm hearing from you is, for example, we're using the astrology system here. I would look at something like my moon in Leo. I'm not even sure what house it's in, but I would look at something like my moon in Leo and go, okay, now let me turn my energy back in and feel into how that actually shows up in my life at this time. How does this actually show up in my behaviors? How does this actually feel in my system? Is that what you would call your inner self mapping? What is that body of work? Does that correlate in the way that you're kind of feeling into a system and then reflecting it back internally?
Right, exactly. Yeah. And the foundation of it comes from the yogic system. There's the yamas and the niyamas. The postures are just one branch on the system. And the niyamas are the internal disciplines, the internal principles that you choose to show up every day to your life with. There are 5 of them. The 4th is svadhyaya, also translates to self-study, self-knowledge, self-awareness, cultivation. And that in my yoga teacher training was the first, you know, light bulb that went off inside of me. I was like, oh my God, I can learn about me? What the fuck? You know, so beginning to self-inquire, to ask yourself those questions instead of just taking like what she said or what that astrologer said or what your healer is telling you. Right. It's always about how can I, like, what's my truth in this?
I think that's what we've lost inside of the community right now. I think a lot of people are trying to find it, but
totally.
I mean, they're finding it in things, but I don't think that they're finding themselves deeper. I think this is the kind of disparaged gap that I'm seeing. And I've been there. I've been there where I've got a Reiki healer I see every 2 weeks, and I'm really just skimming what she's said to me. Just seeing, is there something in there that I feel like validates a part of me that I'm trying to make happen in my life? Never actually like deeply self-reflecting how true and resonant. I've had the same tarot reader I would see constantly, and I'd ask her dumb questions like, is this going to be $1 million a year? Like nothing of actual substance other than to feed an ego. I know what that feels like to desperately, actually, Rachel Justine, one of our previous guests, said it best, try to fill this God-sized hole inside of me with modalities, with tools, with systems. But I also know what it feels like to have them deeply satiate and satisfy a part of me, such as my Venus in Scorpio in the 12th house, how that validated a part of me that was like, of course I'm with a transgender person. Of course, that makes so much sense why I would want the depth and the emotional intensity and the complete excavation of all labels. The closest thing I could ever get to God would be out of all form. Like, of course, that would make so much sense to me. So I see the deep self-inquiry necessary inside of the modalities that are gifts for us to understand ourselves deeper. But I can also see the fragmentation or the disconnect that a lot of these systems, I don't think the systems are the fault. I think the way that we are processing, digesting that information has become instantly gratifying and a little less internally satisfying. So I'd love for you to walk me through that. What are you seeing in the community today in that fragmentation? And how has that shown up in the work that you support people with?
100%. Yeah, it's like a transactional relationship with it. Yeah, it's like you give me what I want, and when you don't, I'm going to throw you in the trash can because you didn't give me what I want, and this is new age mumbo jumbo, and Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and I'm, aligning with organized religion now. This is what we're seeing so much now.
So true.
And it's fascinating because, well, I'm not even going to go on that tangent. I'll stick with this. So there is a surface level introduction that so many people have with these self-knowledge systems. And it's not any fault of their own. We want to know what's going to serve. And in the climate that we're in right now, this modern climate where everything is so instantly gratifying, and if something isn't, getting us in the 0.3 seconds of our attention span, we're free to keep scrolling until something does. So and we expect for self-healing to deliver in an equal way, not necessarily because we're even consciously expecting that, but because that's the way that we've become conditioned. That's why this is so important to really create separation, create spaciousness inside of ourselves so that we can find the value, the priceless value of this self-study work and really getting into the inner excavations of, all these things that we're talking about right now. There is a surface level approach that so many people are coming from, and it's because so many people don't consider themselves students anymore. They don't really learn about the modality, and they don't really connect with someone who can, like a guide or a mentor or a teacher who knows how to work with it at a really deep level. Because just like what you were saying a moment ago about the Scorpio, Venus, 12th house, that's a beautiful way of looking at that piece that's alive and true for you as someone who's got thousands of hours in the self-knowledge system of astrology. I wouldn't even necessarily go there with the 12th house landscape. But that's the freedom that exists inside of self-knowledge systems when you know the foundation of the system. Like the 12th house expands into its own world of archetypal energy, of superpower, of existence. And what resonates with you inside of that system. That's your truth. And I might be operating with, and I have Chiron conjunct Mars in the 12th house. I connect with the 12th house in probably a really different way. And that professional astrologer over there, probably same thing. This is why it's never like you have a bad reading with someone and you're like, oh, astrology's stupid. She didn't tell me something that resonated with me, and then you chuck the whole thing in the trash can. It's so much more nuanced. And I think that's something that we've really lost in this day and age too, is like the attention to detail, the allowance for nuance, complexity, multidimensionality. And these are things that I deeply am called to honor.
Yes.
And to bring back to this work.
Yes.
Because we're nuanced beings. We're deeply complex. And we need to be able to hold that complexity. And there's so much organization that goes on inside of the complexity, but it's your map to hold. That's what the whole thing is about energetic cartography, is that you're building the map of your own landscape, your own inner self energy system. And when you know what that excavation looks like, what that map looks like, that's when you're able to change every and any aspect, facet, expression that you desire to the nth degree. There's no end to it. And this is the beautiful part, because every single day, every season of our lives, we're interacting with different, things in our lives. And there's always more to show up to. And not even from like a fixation kind of place, that's like, oh, I need healing, I need to be healed. And like doesn't give up from that kind of really fixated, controlling place, obsessive in an imbalanced way, addicted. But that is just so, for me, it's endless curiosity. It is tireless devotion.
Yes, and it's alive, just like you were saying in the beginning. I feel alive. Like, I think there's a part of us that does know that we are as limitless as one can possibly be in this conduit. But the bare minimum has to be that we know ourselves.
Yeah.
Because when we know ourselves, that's the gasoline. Everything else is just like trying to fix a broken tire with like the wrong tool. You're like, why doesn't this change? Like, what do I got to do to make it better? Or how do I fix this so that I can make it? It's like, well, you're not using the right tool. The right tool is always going to be your truth. It's always going to be, what am I actually? Who am I inside of my own energy systems, external not included? I think that's the challenge that maybe a lot of people are at, is that they're not seeing themselves as layered, multidimensional beings that need time to sit with material, that need time to understand how it resonates with them. I think it's beautiful that there's such thing as miraculous instant healing. But I don't know anybody really who has had instantaneous healing that didn't include then a depth of integration afterwards, or who didn't have all of this energy that led up to a miraculous healing. Healing, in my opinion, I think it's over a lifetime. And I believe that, yes, there are beautiful miracles that can happen, but I also believe that healing is not instantly gratifying, and it's not something that happens in the speed that I think in the new age spiritual community right now, it is being sold.
Yeah.
It's being sold and packaged. Actually, Dusa Wiseman said it best, like fast food, right? You want it instantly. You just go in, get out, get what you need. So if I wanted to go through the path of inner self mapping and energetic cartography, what would be my process with you?
Waking up can feel like your whole world is turned upside down and there's no one there to catch you. Whoa! And so you ask yourself, who am I? What's my purpose? What are my gifts? And years later, you're still asking yourself the same questions. Cue the Sovereign Healer, the only psychic development and energy healing sovereign development school that'll help you understand your unique abilities without leaving your meditation cushion. Let's get it.
Well, it depends on what's alive in your life. What are you feeling super triggered by? What are you feeling out of alignment with? Where are you really insecure? Where do you want to feel more empowered? Everyone comes to me with a different story, and this is why I'm so taken with this modality, because reflecting back to people what their inner self landscape looks like and the brilliance that exists inside of them, and really getting a client to witness themselves in the way that I see them, with their unique lived experience that marked them in the way that it did, that is now transpiring in the way that it is that's miraculous in itself. Right. If you can develop some compassion and some love for that, like, that's the healing. Yeah. That's the healing in itself. So many people are so enmeshed with their past that they don't see themselves with any specialness. That's why we have, I think, these like comparison issues. Because when you're really grounded in who it is that you are, you kind of become deconditioned from comparison and these kind of things that make you think that you should look like or be like somebody else.
So true.
Because you know that that's impossible. Even if we experienced, and we have a past in theater, you know, but it impacted us in totally different ways. For me, it was the freeing spirit after after so much like enclosed, I'm going to be like everybody else energy. It was like where I got to fully start coming out. I love
that.
Yeah. And this is exactly... Perfect metaphor. Yeah, exactly. Because everything impacts people in a different way. And so when you really integrate that awareness, it becomes so easeful to just like, why am I thinking that I'm going to look like that woman or be like that woman? Or why do I even want that? There's this huge thing, even with like the beauty industry, plastic surgeries, wanting to look like other people and embrace these traits that have nothing to do with your bloodline, nothing to do with your culture, nothing to do with the cells that course through your veins. It's like this whole system is inviting you to embrace everything about who it is that you are and not want to be anyone else. To be fully in love with your story, because you get to grow as a result of experiencing the things that only you have in your unique way. And all of that gets to inform this soul mission that you came here to serve the global populace in only a way that you can. That's that.
That part. I mean, that's freedom. Yeah. In essence, that's freedom.
Oh.
It's freedom, because then there is nothing to compare yourself to. And it's almost like you instantaneously can recognize yourself inside of a projection.
Totally.
Whereas if you don't know yourself, you can't even tell the difference necessarily between, oh, am I just feeling this way because I'm discerning something about them, or am I actually triggered? Like, it's very clear to go, anything where I am looking at somebody else and either shaming them or shaming me, or judging them or judging me, is not ultimately my true authenticity. Period. And that really saves a lot of time, and it brings the energy back into oneself to doing that inner work. I think that in our community, when there is so much presently that we can have on demand, that people are receiving like little bites of, I think it would be most advised if we could learn how to be able to nourish the parts of us that I think, and I'm curious what your thoughts are, that we know we are. When I think about what's happening presently in my life, it feels like my inner child's greatest love story. Like, if my inner child could have wrote to me, this is what, by 31 or in your adulthood, let's say, this is what I think you would be or what I would love you to be, it would be here. I mean, maybe I wouldn't have known it would be a podcast, but I definitely thought some sort of stage, speaking, connecting with other people, or singing, performing, connecting, playing, really like life just feeling like this continuous playground. And then when my spiritual awakening happened, everything felt really hard. Like it was like, well, now I need to understand who I am and why I'm here and like, what is my purpose and what do I do? And everything went from like, the sky's not even the limit to like, why everything is now this like thing that I'm now trying to process. And I wonder how many people in their journeys right now feel like, as they're hearing us, they're like, that sounds really good, Britt Lynn and Victoria. I would love to know who the fuck I am. But I just feel like I'm in a process all the time and I don't know how to step out and be who I am, or even how to begin the process of understanding who I am. What would be the first, most idyllic path for somebody to take to deepen that relationship with themselves?
That's a beautiful question. And immediately my mind goes back to when you were young.
Like, who were you when you were younger?
Yeah, who were you before, it's a adage that we say so much. Who were you before everyone told you who not to be and who to be? I have a 2.5-year-old son, and you could never tell me that every single way that I respond to him, every piece, every time he looks at me and I'm looking back at him with presence, or every time I get upset with him, it's like everything's impacting him. And we think that these things are so insignificant, but they're not. With these patterns, they shape us. They shape who it is that we are. They shape how it is that we show up. They shape what we associate as safe or not. And when we're met with a certain energy that's wanting to hamper and nullify our expression in whatever way, we intake that. And it only takes so many times of intaking that before we decide to turn that switch off inside of us. There's a switchboard that I witness as all of us having thousands and thousands of switches, and so many of them are turned off. And that is the process of coming back into your vibrancy, of deciding, like, yes, I am here to come online as my most vibrant self and, choose that for myself. So to answer your question, it's going back to who it is that you are. And each and every one of us, I believe, has a core wound that takes precedence above the other ones. There's like always, even if all these things, I'm processing all this stuff, I have so much awareness and I don't know how to step outside of the bubble and like be me. Well, there's one, at least.
100%.
There's one.
It's probably already in your brain, too.
Yeah. There's one that definitely has priority over the other ones. Start there. Start there, because it can be really overwhelming. When you first start coming into awareness, I remember feeling like I was in a hall of mirrors. All I was drawing was the moon card in the tarot. And it was, I remember that really speaking to me in the guidebook. It was like, you might feel lost in a hall of mirrors. And I was like, I've never felt so seen. But there's an aspect to that that's so true. You're becoming so aware to so much that's like out of balance and feels broken and feels wounded inside of yourself. It's like, what do I do? Where do I go? As much as you can, like, understand that also there's an addiction to cultivating awareness about yourself, and that can lead to that hall of mirrors place. And it's not a bad place to be necessarily, but getting lost there can take a lot of time to get out. But at the same time, when you're listening to something like this, it doesn't have to, because you can start to just really tune in and get really simple and ask yourself, if there was just one thing. Like for me, when this whole thing started with me and I realized how deeply, chronically, socially anxious I was, I set intention for the year of 2017. All I wanted to do, all I wanted to focus on was not being socially anxious by the end of the year. Just giving yourself one thing to focus on. That's it, just one. You have a whole lifetime to dive into this process. just start with the most simple thing that means a lot to you that would change your life. It can be simple. It can be really fucking complex too, but it can be really simple.
I love that you share that example because I am coming up to a whole year of committing myself to my relationship with my nervous system. And I struggled a lot with panic attacks when I started to become way more clairvoyant very quickly. It was as if I went through a world where I felt sensitive. I definitely felt drained, let's call it, but not to the degree that my nervous system would be incapable of being in public spaces. It was as if there was a spectrum. It was like airport, no fucking way. Mall, if I went in and out really fast and didn't look at anybody, maybe.
Wow.
The second the fluorescents were on and the music was on and there were scent and there were, let's say Black Friday, no. There was like a spectrum. Okay, the grocery store, depends on the size of the grocery store, how many people would be in the grocery store. My entire life from end of 2022 to end of 2024 was about learning life as a very clairvoyant person. That went from being able to see an entity on somebody and feel the energy instantly to just simply being what I would consider to be your everyday empath. And last year, for my birthday, I'm coming up to my 31st birthday this month as of December 2025, whenever people receive this. And my intention for the year was to build a strengthened nervous system. And I am happy to share that I can basically do all human things now. I feel like a fucking human. And my husband can attest to this. I am so proud because there was a time where I would not even be able to eat inside my home. I felt so much anxiety.
Oh my gosh.
I would eat outside and I would spend time with my dog while I was eating outside, even if it was like minus 20 degrees, because my nervous system from how much energy I feel I had access to at such an accelerated time frame, my body literally could not catch up. In the spiritual work, I'd have no issue. The second I finished spiritual work, it felt like my entire lower chakras were just constantly overactive. And so reflecting back to in this moment, just I love that you shared that because that is actually a massive celebration. And it has been probably the biggest and only like real deep body-based sensation goal that I have had for myself this year. It wasn't public. I didn't share it with the internet. It wasn't anything I needed the world to know. It was just my own relationship with understanding. I call it my amber light. When I was in my amber zone, when I had picked up too much energy, when I didn't take enough time to recenter, when I needed to ground more, when maybe that actually was too much for me. And that's okay. Self-compassion, like learning my own energy systems, being so fucking psychic all the time now. I am very happy to celebrate that this is like my first full year doing the spiritual work that I do and being able to do it in a way where I don't get anxiety anymore.
Congratulations. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that
Thanks
too.
for receiving.
Yeah, you just touched on something that I think is so important. First off, how beautiful it is for you to be vulnerable enough to share that story because so many are intaking and they're witnessing the power in your energy. And I'm sure that's a shock for a lot of people to hear that just so recently you experienced such a big, that's big energy coursing that you have going on in the moments that you're outside of your deeply spiritual work. But then also what you touched on about not sharing it. There's a whole piece on this inside of the book that's about not necessarily protecting yourself. I don't really think you need to you can't know this about me. But there's when you're deeply, deeply coming into yourself, it's like in the Bible, they're talking about, don't throw your pearls before swine. And knowing who it is that you're sharing this really vulnerable, really sacred information with is paramount in these early days when you're first starting to assess it too, because you want to make sure that that person you trust, that you love, that they trust you, that they love you, that they're able to hold you inside of that. And oftentimes, I know for myself, I had a deep wound with validation and needing to share everything with my husband as it was happening. And he would not know how significant or how important it was to me. And he didn't really know how to handle that in the early days, especially. And I would intake it. make it so personal. I'd be like, ah, and then I would internalize it in a way that was like, is this real? Is this, because of the way that he responded about it to me. And that's one of the greatest ways that we can sabotage ourselves unknowingly, because we're looking for other people to reflect back to us just how important this magnanimous change is going on inside of ourselves.
100%.
And it's so important for us to really discern who it is. Like, do I need to share this? Can I just share it with my voice memos? Can I share it with my journal? Can I share it with myself in the mirror? With my own eyes? That's one of the most powerful practices.
Love it.
People don't talk to themselves enough. And when you come into my world, you start doing mirror work a lot.
Well, it kind of goes back to our topic about, are you doing the work? Because for me, it was something that I realized that if it was coming out to the world and I was sharing this, when I hadn't even found strength about it yet, meaning where I was still trying to understand what my body was teaching me and what I needed to know about my energy flow. I believe that living in my energy is a lot, and I wouldn't recommend it to everybody in the world. I wouldn't. And I'm thankful for it because it allows me to be who I am in every stream of energy that I'm in. And I knew that if I put it out to the world, I knew that I'd be looking for somebody to say, you're so strong. Good for you. I'm so proud. I didn't know you were going through that. I would be looking for that validation. And similar to you and some of the wounding around validation, I think my biggest wound would have been rejection in the past. It's no longer my biggest wound. I'm very thankful for that. But validation, wanting the world to approve of me. If I didn't get this, then I didn't know who I was. So to me, it didn't feel like, okay, if I don't share this, and will people know that I'm like not doing the work or that I am doing the work? It didn't feel like that. It felt like this win for me of learning me. I don't need anybody to see it because I validate that in me. I'm so proud of me. I don't need to be like, hello world, I just went to the mall and I have had panic attacks for 2 years. It was like me sitting in the car, taking a deep breath and crying with my husband and being like, for the first time in so many years, I am living a normal life. And that is so empowering for me, not for what the world sees. And so I think a lot of times nowadays, there is so much spiritual performance of look at me doing the work.
And you wouldn't be doing it, or they wouldn't be doing whatever it is that they were doing unless they were recording it.
And you know that they're only doing it when they're recording it. They just got the right angle to get the perfect thing so they could show us that they were doing mirror work or that they were doing the thing. It's like, I think about this sometimes in relationships too. Like when I see divine unions online, and they're like in this like really curated position and they're like having this like really curated conversation, you can feel where there's this sense of like, if you were really that happy in your union, would everything be on the camera? Because happy union to me, I don't feel like there's anything. Even if I was a relationship coach, I feel like there wouldn't be anything that I would really feel like I would want to put on the gram and like see us how we navigate a fight, or put us on the gram and look how we do this like tantra practice together. Like there's this element of sacredness to the ruptures that happen internally when you're doing the deep work. Like the messy, and it's beautiful, but it instantly becomes less messy the second you place a fucking camera in front of it. And I personally don't think that it's the true definition of doing the work. Curious what your thoughts are, actually.
Yeah, well, it's fun that you verbalize it like that. I kind of have been moving through the inverse of that, where my husband and I, we've been together for 13 years in each other's lives for 20 plus years. I was 15, he was 12 when we met. He was my best friend's little brother. We have an incredible story.
Okay, I need to hear that after.
So,
wow.
So we've been really deeply moving through, I'm pregnant with our second babe, and pregnancy illuminates so much in your life. It shows, for me at least, it really took me into what was in alignment, what was out of alignment, and sobriety was a huge topic for us. So my husband has been, I think maybe today is 100 days, no cannabis, no alcohol. He was off caffeine for a lot of this time. And it's been so incredible to witness the transformation, to witness the changes, to witness how it is that he's showing up, to just celebrate him on such a deep level, and to be in tears crying about how beautiful this is all the time. There has been a part of me that's like, this is the juice. Like, this is, it's no small feat to stop alcohol, to stop cannabis, especially for someone like him who's been utilizing it for so many years, like more than half his life. I'm like, this is the juice. I want to capture this. I do want to share this. Yeah. But he's deeply uncomfortable. He has Chiron in the house of Leo, and he's deeply uncomfortable. Like, really, that's not in him. He doesn't want to, no videos, like, just like the deepest cringe for him. And I'm totally the opposite, where I'm like, but it's of service. And it's true. It's such deep medicine. Like, let's share it. And he's just a hard no. And maybe one day there will be a time where he's not a hard no to that. But at this time, just really like softening my own ego around that and being like, I know that no one needs to see this. I'm wanting to share it for the medicine of it, because I know how many people deal with these same struggles. Yep. But at the same time, when I'm not gonna put him in an uncomfortable situation where I'm insisting on like, let's make the video. So it's a similar thing, but the inverse. But yeah, I have conversations with deep sisters all the time about how there is, this performatism is so strong. And I think it's done, and it continues to do the more that it goes on. And this is another reason why I'm so passionate about this work. It does a deep disservice to how it is that people perceive what spirituality even is.
Yes.
There's this word that I just learned, performatism, that actually is socially conditioning the people that are intaking the content, say in these, spiritual practices or whatever. And the whole social conditioning is being changed around what spirituality even is, what it looks like, based off the content that we're seeing online. We just are associating that is what it is. And when it's so curated, people think that it needs to be so curated in their private lives, and it can make it feel unattainable. It can make it feel like, just more attachments to perfectionism and performatism, and I'm not wealthy enough, and I don't have a white garb, and, like all these unconscious associations that we're making to something that actually is so free. It's so available to everyone, little pieces like that. So I think it's really important that we touched on that.
I agree too. And I'm curious why we were guided to kind of go that direction, because our topic is really like, are we doing the work or are we avoiding it? But the truth is, if we're performing it, we're also avoiding it, I think. When we're performing it, we're not actually being in it. And
well, it's interesting too, though, isn't it? Because there are so many people and so many clients that I know that it's like they have the truth inside themselves, but then there's a part about being witnessed in it and being visible in it and embodying it truly. Like, where's the bridge? Like, ooh, why does it feel so, if I do share this, it's like I am performing it. Yep. And it's a balance. Yep. And only you can know what that balance is. It's a matter of really checking in with your own self on where the performatism comes from. Yep. Is it about, do you need to have the house fully clean? Do you have to be in that outfit? Like, how can you make it more authentic?
Yes.
And where is it that you want to fine tune things and make it a curated, piece?
I love that you're sharing that, because that's exactly how it feels. Other than the Spiritual Debate podcast, which I enjoy the essence of being in the performer archetype for me, I never wear makeup.
Same.
Literally never wear a bra. I literally, if my husband is lucky, like every 6 weeks I'll shave my legs. It's like I'm
way past that point.
Yes, girl, own it. I like being just the natural way my body wants to be. Yeah. And my content comes through that way. I'll be sitting on the couch and I'll have a download. I'll be on a walk with Hayden, and then one of my ET buddies will come through. I'll be in the spiritual work. I was in this morning for 3 hours, didn't brush my teeth. Not like my guides can fucking smell it anyway. You know what I'm saying? Not like my clients are like, V, you're stinky, Like, I like the human aspect of creation. And yet for other people, they might like getting dolled up, getting ready and, putting up a nice frame. And regardless of how it is, what matters is that the energetics behind it. When people are feeling what your work is, does it truly feel like you've done the work to be able to embody the lesson? And does the transmission feel like accuracy? Because I think right now we really need strong discernment in our community, because it may look like a guru. It may even talk like a guru, but the energetics in the field, what is underneath it? Do you feel authenticity? Do you feel embodied wisdom? Do you feel coherence and consistency? Those things have to be there in the field. That doesn't mean that they're perfect and they don't maybe say some things that are not true, or they're a little ungrounded, or they're not
perfect.
But that there's a deep level of humanness to it. But the resonance of the energetics underneath it are what I think we really need to be feeling into, more than just simply, wow, they look like they've really done the work and that they have all these things now. How do I have that? And then also going back to inner mapping, being able to inner source how you feel creative. How are you actually? Do you enjoy getting ready? Do you not? Do you value that thing? What does happiness actually look like to you behind the scenes? And then how can you incorporate that so you don't feel like you need to be an online influencer in today's day and age, and you can create content in a way that feels like it's 1 + 1. I was already doing this, let's add this in. This feels authentic, let me add that in, because that's authenticity now, not how do I get people to understand that I'm authentic, or how do I translate the message that I'm smart. Like, it's not trying, it's what you are plus sharing what you are. I think that's going to help so many more people to take the work that they already do, the knowing that they already have in them, and go, wait, it's literally what I'm doing right now. In every way that I'm doing it, in the most transparent and honest way now, and converting that forward to the world.
1,000%, or reckoning with how deeply out of balance you are with that. I will say that's why I resonated with Dusa Wiseman's episode so much, because in last December, I was having a really deep phone call with one of my dear sisters, and I was just sharing with her how distraught and nasty I felt, so out of my own integrity with my relationship with social media. I was only doing the things whenever the camera was on, and I was really trying to, it's like I didn't want to feel like I needed to convince, but that's what I felt like I needed to do in order to relay the power and the magic that is working with me. And she just asked me a really simple question, when was the last time you got off social media for an extended amount of time? And it's funny because I facilitate guided social media cleanses every single month. I have for over 4 years in different containers. And I was like, damn, I never think that I can get off social media because of how much I need to show up for online. And I gave myself permission December 18th to get off socials for 7 months.
Wow.
In that time, I moved to New Mexico. I deeply communed with the land. I came into my embodiment in a way that I hadn't in years. I needed that time. And I think that so many people, especially in the way that times are changing so quickly right now, to be unplugged is the deepest medicine for the self in so many facets. And that is how so much spaciousness opens up to really spend time with yourself. Really be honest with how much time you're feeding into your devices. This is very important for us to all be aware of. It's 30 minutes a day. If you lessened, that's 3.5 hours over a week. What could you put in that 3.5 hours? You say you don't have time to meditate, to read a book, to journal, to this, that, and the other thing, to pour into yourself. You do. It's a matter of priority. It's always a matter of priority.
I think Michael Graziano was on Kid Carson's podcast, and he shared something like how the average screen time for somebody is 7 hours a day. And how that equates to 20 years plus of life.
Yep.
20 years. That is fucking insanity to me. I sat with that and I went, no, I can't. I cannot live in a reality where I waste life that felt like wasting life. 20 years of somebody's life. And you think about the new generation that grew up now, not even, I mean, depending on how old you are.
I didn't get a cell phone until 10th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got a cell phone. I had like a Razor like 7th, 8th grade maybe. So like I started with like the introduction into like a slide or whatever. The new generation, they're basically iPad babies. And I think about that, and that really scares me.
It's tragic.
And Mark Groves on the podcast explained how many years ago, he is a relationship coach, he would have said that our deepest mirrors in life would be relational. He goes, your cell phone is 100% the biggest relationship. If we want to do inner work, we need to look at our relationship with our phone. And I think through unplugging, we will do the deepest work that we need to be doing right now in the collective. Our relationship with attachment, with validation, with belonging, with not being able to feel an absence, with not being able to regulate ourselves when we feel too much. I think our phones are such a important relationship that we need to be assessing in this new era, in these new times, in the accelerated energies. How are we relating with ourselves through this phone? And how are we perpetuating patterns and not doing the work and using the phone as the escape?
As a pacifier.
100%.
Total pacifier. I love that you mentioned Mark Groves. His wife, Kylie, we went to middle school together.
What?
Small world. Small world.
Wow.
Yeah, I knew her when I was in the throes of being so severely bullied.
Wow.
Like I knew her. I wanted to be friends with her.
Wait, did you adopt her laugh?
No, we never got close enough for that.
Darn. I would want to hear it. I love it. Oh, so good. I feel like we went into so many different avenues. And I know we didn't really touch on interference, and we didn't really touch on how interference plays a role in inner work. For me, really my biggest stance on that is that I feel like there are things that we incarnate on planet Earth that hold a lot of deep cellular memory that we have to address first. I believe we need to assess where in different incarnations we have to clear some of those patternings first before we can be on natural path. And then when we're on our natural path, then it's like, okay, what sorts of other wounding that I have from childhood, from my lineage? What did I learn from mom and dad? What are some of my core wounds? That's really my only maybe debate or nuance in inner work, is that sometimes I feel like it stems beyond into previous incarnations, into the bloodline that you inherited and you adopted.
Yeah. And I completely believe that. I think that for everyone, the level of interdimensionality that they're able to really tap into and understand, like I know for many years, probably until like a year or two ago, that kind of like blows right over my head and I can't really connect with it.
Yeah.
I have friends who are, friends that really deeply work with these like interdimensional beings and things like that. And I think it's important to even state this, that if you don't resonate with something, it's okay.
Yes.
And you don't need to try to like pull it in and be like, I need to have past life regressions. I did that. I went to someone and I was like, I'm going to have a past life regression. No, I did inner child work for the first time in my life. And I just haven't, for me, the lower 3 chakras have been the greatest portals for me to come into my energetic alignment. And I think for everyone, it's so different. Some people are so deeply attuned to just like tapping in, they reach these higher consciousnesses or higher interdimensional beings. I have yet to really experience that. As far as the spirit team, spirit guides go, I work with my parents. That's pretty much it.
That's beautiful.
And there's also sometimes this pedestaling, especially with all these like light language people and Pleiadian conversations and Arcturian this, and there's a desire for many people that haven't connected yet in that way to think that they need to in order to be healed or to be their fullest self. And maybe that's true for them, but also for people like there's such a need for patience in whatever your healing, story is looking like. I know for my own self, my earliest childhood memory was a recurring dream that I would have before I was 3.5, because we moved out of that house whenever I was 3.5, where I'm a big African chief in full regalia in like a meadow of dry grass. I raise my chest to the sky, let out a big warrior cry, hurl myself forward, drop to my knees, put my head forward, and a guillotine severs my head. And the end of the dream is me witnessing my head rolling away. Had that dream dozens of times. And when I learned the concept of past lives, so much in my body let out the deepest exhale in my early 20s. And I was like, oh my God, that's what that was. So sometimes there's even this importance for me to share that, like, you may have spontaneous past life memories that circulate within you. And they may be at the deepest levels of your consciousness that you remember from childhood, like the story that I just shared. And also, sometimes I think that we become so fixated, and I know this for myself to be true, we become so fixated on like, what were my past lives? And we are so reachy to try to get that. And we think that that's the key that we need. And if it's not coming, and that's the truth, it's not coming right now, it hasn't arrived yet on your path, be patient with what the process is, what's meant to reveal itself to you about your journey, your keys that are going to initiate you into new levels of being and expression. Trust that they're going to arrive exactly on time.
Natural order. Natural order. Things happen in a natural order. And I believe everybody has their unique inlets and outlets on planet Earth. And that's why, to this date, and every way I teach, I never do anything that somebody is asking of me in terms of, can you look into this life? Can you look at what happened with my bloodline? Can you assess if I have this, that? I will do a research in the same way that a doctor would take you in for a scan and search a centralized area. I will search that centralized area to see what type of information comes forward. But if you tell me, oh, I think I have an entity or I think I have a past life, I'll acknowledge it, but I'm always going in for truth. If you come forward and you come forward into the work, I believe natural order is what brought you here. I believe God's hand is what brought you here to get you on whatever your natural path of life is. To me, that means there is no deviating out of my own curiosity or out of your own desperation to try to reveal a truth. I think digging is what leads people to psychosis. I think it's what leads people off of their natural path of life. Whereas if I'm scanning something and something comes forward, then I feel like it was right time, right space, right information for you to be able to receive. I think that, to your point as well, I love that you're sharing that everyone's inlets and outlets and gifts and abilities are different and means nothing better or worse than another. When we say ascension, people think instead of the spiral into the descension path, the spiral into the womb, the spiral into the lower body realms on earth as it is in heaven. Like, we need to be learning from the mothers, from the womb keepers, from the ones who know how to work with the land of earth, who actually are in earth, that are actually experiencing earth's medicine. I think the more we're connecting with those like yourself that are deeply grounded into the body of this earth, the more we're actually going to be able to access all of this.
1,000%. It's the equal and opposite. It's natural law. It's divine order. And the deeper that you spiral into yourself, the higher access that you have to, whether it's different planes of dimension or just your own ecstatic bliss.
Yes.
You know, why need to prioritize like what the ascension looks like? You know, once again, just be present with what it is that's coming, and notice when you're really fixating on something that you don't have.
Yes.
Something that you feel like you need in order to be whole.
Yeah, in order to feel like you know who you are. When the truth is, I think it goes back to our original point, which is that people know who they are. Inherently, I believe that people have stories and narratives, and I'd hate to use the word block because it's not really resistances between them and who they truly are. And through reflection and introspection and dissolving the noise, I like to say controlling the variables, quieting the variables around you, you can start to hear that child in you again. And you can start to hear the happiness coming alive, and you get to hear what hums in you and only in you. And from here, I think this is where we do the work. From this seat, I think this is where the messy and uncomfortable and the blissful and the beautiful and the dualistic and the yucky and all of that. That's where the real work is. And I think if we choose to share that, it'll come from that right energy. Great. If we don't choose to share, it doesn't take away from any of the sacredness. But I think only when the variables of interference, or only when the variables of the noise of the world around us are clear, can we truly hear who we really, really are.
Completely. And cultivating that spaciousness is
Yes.
what it is that we're doing here. The people that are right here, right now, in such a wild time as 2025, about to enter 2026, we came here for this reason. We came here to be enmeshed with this system and these, times and these atrocities and these torturous, wild things that are going on in the world right now. And we come to be lights. And in order to really tap into what your light is and how it wants to express itself through you and to come into what you feel is your soul mission, your soul assignment, what God really placed you here for, you've got to have that spaciousness. We're really being asked into our space of greatest, it's radical responsibility in today's day and age. And only you can claim that for yourself. And it's imperative that we do if we want to be of the deepest service that we can be here in this life. Like it's not easy. And I love that you shared the story that you did. I love getting super vulnerable too, because it's important for everyone who's interested in this realm of work to understand that it's not just some easy peasy, the instant gratification.
Yep.
It's a devotion. Devotion doesn't necessarily mean you're feeling good all the time. As a matter of fact, it means that you have the willingness to walk through fires that 99% of people don't even want to touch.
Yep.
It takes a lot to be the leader of your life.
Yes. Hey there, it's me, V. So, as you can imagine, this is my first podcast, and so I'm learning all of these new ropes. Did you know how important ratings were? I didn't. I had absolutely no idea, and I'm so thankful for the support of my team for reminding me of how important having your ratings, your honest reflection of the podcast, how much that benefits us. So, I'm that annoying person in the middle of everyone else's episodes that I fast forward that hopefully you're listening to right now. And if you've got 30 seconds, it would mean the absolute world to us if you could take a moment and just rate this podcast, give it a thumbs up, share it with your bestie that you want to go head to head with, so we can continue to spread this message, debate about the truth, find what the truth is, and have the kinds of conversations that truly help us awaken in integrity. All right, back to the episode. It takes everything. I feel like it's taken everything, because I remember the day I walked into the doctor's office and I was like, I need fucking Xanax to travel on the plane. And he was like, I can give you daily anxiety medication. That's all I can give you. And I looked at him and I said, listen, in the body of work that I want to learn my own body. And I want to listen to the intelligence of my body. I'm not comfortable with taking anxiety medication at 30 years old. I want to learn my body. When I'm on an airplane for 12 hours, I would really love to just be knocked out. And I ended up leaving that day with these daily anxiety medications. And I remember sitting with them and feeling into it. And the no was just so loud in my system. I wanted to know my body, and I wanted to experience, and this may feel silly to say, but I hope that you ride with me in this. I wanted to feel what it felt like to constantly be on edge in my own system, because I have so much that I feel. Like there was something about feeling everything that in my body that turned into a state of anxiety that I never wanted to be without. And I didn't want to chemically change. And so I never ended up taking that anxiety medication because, well, one, I would never, and I'm not saying that someone would compromise their work in order to, by taking anxiety medication if that's what somebody chooses. But for me, in my work, I want to feel everything. Does it have a price? Yes. Am I learning the intricacies of how to balance that at what I believe was an unparalleled speed of access that was it was a lot for the very short amount of time that I went from seeing nothing spiritually, basically, to then being able to see entities and remove them in all of a span of like 6 months. That's a lot for the system. But I would rather every single day, meet my body where it is and do the work of what do I need? What do I need? What do I need? What do I need? Then go, fuck, that anxiety medication looks really good right now. And I would just love this to end. You know, doing the work is realizing that there's always going to be a faster pass or a quicker fix or a shortcut. But doing the real work is like, but what's actually an integrity for me on a cellular level? And for me, it was never going to be taking anxiety medication and then facing, you know, my clients and telling them, this is how you ground your energy. Like, I could never look at myself in the mirror, and that is just truth, transparency, and say, this is how I ground myself, when I knew that everything that I was, the repertoire that I was processing in my body, my ability to ground it was literally my revolutionary, groundbreaking body of work.
That's such an important piece. And what I'm hearing you say inside of there that I think so many people need to hear is that everything comes with a price.
Yep.
Everything comes with a price. Even if, like, this is your truth to not take the medication, for a lot of people who do choose to take the medication, in their heart of hearts, they don't want to be on that medication forever.
True.
But what's the process of coming off of it? Because so many people enter that realm to with like an end date in mind. They're like, I'm not going to be on this forever. But so many people don't cultivate that timeline of what that's going to look like. And then 20 years later, they're still on the medication. It's times 10 in dosage. And now they like can't get off of it, or doctors are telling them that they can't get off of it, or the trajectory to get off of it is incredibly tedious and comes with its own slew of wildness. It's like, we need to understand life is challenging. You choose the challenge that you're going to endeavor. This is incredibly challenging. For many people, that's an incredibly challenging path as well.
Yep.
And I think that really taking the spaciousness, taking the time, taking the energy, caring about the attention that it takes to understand that everything comes with pros and cons. And for me, you know, I witnessed my mom decline really, really quickly. She passed away in 2019 because her body wasn't able to intake the forms of cancer treatment that she was being treated for, rare forms of blood and bone marrow cancer. I witnessed the kind of cognitive decline. It was horrific. Wouldn't wish that on anyone. So I have a lot of feelings about the Western medical system. And the way that it's being normalized, and the stats of how many people that are around our age, mid-30s and beyond, that are on some medication of some kind, it's astronomical.
Yep.
I think it's a tragedy. And I do think that this type of work, the type of work that so many of us are doing right now, are giving people avenues to know that something else is available to them, and that this isn't the only path that is available, this Western medical system. Because I'm not necessarily demonizing it or saying that it shouldn't exist or anything like that. There's more nuance to the conversation than this. Knowing what the side effects are and knowing how that might nullify the gifts that actually want to come through.
Yep.
The very real. My dad got on like an antipsychosis thing because he was having these premonition dreams, and they were deeply like scary to him. And so he told his doctor, and he was like, okay, I'll take dreams away. Got on this antipsychotic medication. It's little things like that like, when someone doesn't know how to work with something and it's scary to them, there's an outlet. You know, now medicine is so modernized and so advanced that like we have pills that will turn the switch off for you.
Yeah.
Is that the way? Is that the way?
I don't know. In 2025, when I look at the state of the world, I don't know. I'm curious what your thoughts are. I don't blame people. I don't blame people for choosing not to do the work.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
It's like, oh man, I know what it's costing me to just stay in integrity with my values, with my virtues, with my ethics, my ethos, everything that I believe. It's gotten very narrow recently. I don't blame people that I feel are like, I just need an out. It's not for me. It's not my path. And that's not to say that I don't find outs in human vices, such as in caffeine. I really quite enjoy coffee, or sometimes through social media. Like, I have outs that I know in my heart of hearts there will be a time where I'm getting closer to that time. And actually, I wanted to bring that part in because I think in the beginning we were speaking about just how sometimes the choices that we have to pretend or hide in other people or to chameleon ourselves, it had value. at that time because you knew you were going to be leaving and going to a new school. There's value in whatever caffeine is bringing me, even if it's not necessarily benevolent or positive for the highest, greatest good. In the moment, it feels like it's good, even if it's not potentially for the highest, greatest good. Same thing goes with the phone. It's like it's providing value, even if I know that in the highest picture, it might not be the ultimate path. And actually, having helped a lot of people with addiction before, one of the biggest things that I've helped them do is to see value in the fact that the alcohol is there. It's providing value in your life. Well, it's not positive. Well, it's okay, but it's still providing value. And in the realization that it's providing value, it kind of destabilizes the shame. And then when it depedestals and destabilizes the shame, now suddenly they can go, well, I value something else. Like, okay, well, what is that? Well, I value this. Oh, okay, so cool. And then they make that decision. So I'm curious, what has it cost you to be who you are and to do the work that you do today?
The first answer that rises is nothing that I mind losing out on.
Great answer.
Nothing that I mind losing out on. I mean, I know that just like you were saying earlier, you operate with a level of energy that you wouldn't necessarily, wish upon other people who that's not their natural way. I'm very much the same. I know that the way that I process things and the amount of things that I can be pouring into would make most people crumble.
Right.
But it's what makes me feel the most alive. And
Yes.
I don't mind binging shows or these kinds of normal things that so many people do. I don't see the value in that. I don't want to be doing that. I want to be pouring into myself in the moments that I have. Am I exhausted? Is it a wild thing because I have a toddler and I have a marriage that I pour into? I have a micro bakery. I make all the most nourishing meals. I'm a kitchen witch, all these things. Yes, but my life is so full and I wouldn't choose any other way.
Wow.
Because when I think about that, well, with the meals, would I rather be going and having someone else make the meals for me? No. Why? Because I don't value what they're putting into it. So I'd rather do it myself. It's moments like these that it's like, once again, you got to weigh the pros and cons. I choose to pour every minute piece of energy into everything that I pour myself into. We have chickens, tending those. It's like, I wouldn't choose to have it any other way. I wouldn't choose to have it any other way. And for me, it's about discerning where I want to be pouring my energy into, because I understand that people have stresses. They have, things that they don't know how to deal with. And so they want to numb and they want to tune out. And that's fine. But for me, it's about knowing that that's what it is that you're doing.
Yes.
Because for a lot of people, I think they're so enmeshed with their day-to-day reality that that's just what they're doing.
Yes.
They're not thinking about what they're doing and they're not really conscious or aware of what they're doing, but they're just so enmeshed with their day-to-day living that that's just, that's the way that they're living.
Yeah. And I love that you just shared. It really comes back to awareness. I love that I am so aware that I love coffee. And I also know that there will be a day where it won't serve me the same. And I've always said to my body, you let me know. When the anxiety becomes too much, let me know and I will stop. In the same way that with social media, when the time comes, when I'm in a scroll hole or whatever, when the time comes, let me know and I will honor it in all ways. And I think that's the blessed part of doing the work, is that we're all doing the best we can with these crazy energies in the world. And we're all trying to do the work in whatever that means to us. And as long as we listen to our inner experience, and that is what we amplify, then we will always not only have work to do in many ways, but we will always know what work is needed. That's what I feel like is the big takeaway from today. What do you feel? Any final pieces, reflections, nuances you want to add into the space as we close out here?
Yeah, just being available to yourself. That's the distilled piece of what you just mentioned. How available are you to you? There's so much juice and so much medicine, so much that can be alleviated inside of the current stresses and challenges and things that you're moving through that are so valid and so real. how available are you to yourself to really acknowledge, to presence with that? Because it's when you presence and you become aware with what's circulating inside of your inner world that you gain, like I said, those keys of access that then usher you into a space of newness, because you're able to make new decisions because of what you know is going on inside of yourself and where it is that you want to, that you know that you want to go, that you want to get to. If you're not available to yourself, then you're not going to be able to access that part of yourself anyways, because you're so here and you're not so here.
Beautiful. I think you're the bomb. I think you are so wonderful. I love your presence. I love how you articulate. I love how you hold yourself. You've got this like regal, mystical woman energy. It's like, it's giving shapeshifter, but in a really blessed way, really embodied way. Like I see you like a lioness who can like shapeshift into a hawk. Like you just have these like beautiful, multidimensional essences about you. And I hope that everybody who listened to today's episode got to feel that, because there was so much value. So much value to what you do, so much value to what you bring. And you have so many beautiful bodies of work that you're building, whether it was InnerSelf Mapping or Energetic Cartography. You also have a book. Do you feel called to share any pieces about that at this time?
Of course, yeah.
Bring it on. Like you have so much. And now everyone's going to be like, this is my address for sourdough. That part too.
So many different pieces that you can pick up of medicine in my world. Yeah. So Hello Self, a Fill Outable Guidebook to Map and Transform the Inner Self Landscape, is being published on December 8th. I think this episode's going to be coming out after that. So it's going to be available on Shopify, on TikTok, on Amazon. And really, this is going to dive you into your own paradigms, your own programs, your own patterns, and just illuminate you to that awareness that we were speaking on in all the 7 inner energy centers, broken down into 7 different aspects of consciousness that are associated with each of those inner energy centers. Each of those 7 aspects of consciousness are then given 7 self-inquiry questions, so that in every single aspect, you know what your relationship is like with that part of yourself. I wanted to create something that really illuminates. You mentioned Lume a couple episodes ago. I actually initially was receiving the download that Lume was to be the guide inside of this guidebook. The name of the guide was Lume. And it was only a couple months ago that I was like, Lume, you don't fit anymore. She went away as the guide. She was just going to be a little star creature that guided people through the book. And I decided ultimately it wasn't totally necessary. But when I heard that on the episode too, I was just like, oh, another little piece between you.
I've literally never heard another person ever say the word Lume before.
Isn't that fascinating?
I didn't even know that was a fucking word until it came through from my guides.
I didn't either.
What? Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Another synchronicity.
Another little God wink. So yes, Hello Self is available.
Beautiful.
Would love for it to get into the hands of as many people who are really thirsting for this type of illumination in their lives. Awareness is what starts the process of transformation, and it's imperative for everyone to know how to do this level of deep work inside of themselves for the day and age that we're in, and for the quality of life that every single person alive deserves to be embodied in.
Well, amen, sister.
Oh my gosh, we went a lot of places.
We went
today.
So many places. I hope everyone was there with us. It was beautiful, though. It was like we were on like the road to Hana. It felt like we were in this beautiful winding road, but it all felt like it was interconnected with the point that we were trying to make. Yeah. That's what I think is so blessed about these spaces, when there's not, okay, here's all my questions, and we kind of keep going back to the point. What is meant to be? It's like a book, you know, it just opens to whatever it was meant to be. And I feel like we really did that here today. So are we doing the work, or are we avoiding it? That's what we navigated here with Britt Lynn today on the Spiritual Debate podcast. And as always, we will now leave it with you all. Here, what do you think? All right, everybody. See you again very soon.